Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program live on our Facebook page, Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can catch up this program or episode later in the evening through our YouTube channel. Also, you can hear us live on our Evox PBS receiver app. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Okay. All right. So our guest today is the from the private sector, as particularly the Philippine Disaster Resilience. Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, or PDRF, the country's leading private sector coordinator for disaster preparedness and response. And as stated on their website, PDRF is an alliance of businesses dedicated to building the disaster risk management capabilities of the private sector in the country, as it aims to contribute to the sustainable development and general welfare of the Filipino peoples. And the PDRF has been working tirelessly to help our kababayans in Cebu who were affected by both the recent earthquake and also the Typhoon Tino. In relation to that, we have now on the line via Zoom is the Center Director of the Emergency Services Emergency Operations Center of the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, none other than Mr. Arnel Capili. Good morning, Mr. Capili. Thank you so much for joining us in the program on Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning, Jerome. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Okay, so given the situation in Cebu, because that province was hit by first earthquake or strong earthquake rather, and now they've been inundated with the massive floods due to Typhoon Tino. So can you tell us about the current situation in Cebu following those calamities, and what has RF has observed on the ground, Mr. Capili?
Hi, Jerome. I think it has been a bad year for the province of Cebu. And several major disasters have impacted our communities there. And they're just recovering from the earthquake, the impact of the earthquake, and now this typhoon. But what we wanted to highlight also is that the Typhoon Tino has not just impacted Cebu, but it has also left a trail of devastation across the Visayas.
Right.
So we're looking at Aklan, Antique, Capiz, Iloilo, Negros provinces, and in Luzon, southern Luzon, in Palawan as well. But from all of these provinces, we can say that from our observations, from the reports that we are getting from the field, that Cebu is the worst hit province among all of these provinces that I have just mentioned, Jerome.
Okay, so Cebu is totally bad hit of the calamities that has just passed there, particularly this earthquake and the typhoon. So, having said that, Mr. Capili, what specific assistance or relief operations has PDRF or your foundation provided so far to the affected communities?
Sure, Jerome. We are grateful for the members of the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, our member companies, the private sector. They immediately responded to the call for help since the earthquake and until today. So our member companies have provided relief assistance, hygiene kits, dignity kits to the affected families. They went in to provide that's Globe, Smart PLDT. They went in to provide libreng tawag to our kababayans. Um, our utility companies and Coca-Cola sent mobile treatment plants to support the requirement for water. So it has been a great effort, tremendous effort from the private sector. We pulled all the resources from the private sector so that the private sector can support a nationally led response. We want to support the efforts of the provincial government, of the NDRRMC, so that we complement each other. That's what we want to highlight. And so far, I think the private sector has filled in a lot of gaps in the response, and that's something that we are still mobilizing as of today to support the effect of Tino. In fact, Jerome, we have some funding to already look into recovery. So I myself will go to Cebu probably after this typhoon, this super typhoon, because we are still monitoring this. So after this, I'll go to Cebu and start the discussions to identify what are the priority in terms of recovery. Over to
But
you, Jerome.
all right. But so far, Mr. Kapili, the what they need or what the people need there is basic supplies like food as well as hygiene kits in the area. So that's the basic things that they need there in Cebu.
That is correct. On top of that, what we also observe from the reports that we got from the ground are shelter repair toolkits and shelter materials. So we're looking at that as well as generators, because we have monitored that several cities and municipalities are still facing some disruptions, some power disruptions. So that's something that we can also support if that is still required. So we really have to identify which areas would be getting all of this assistance that we are mobilizing.
I see. Okay, and my next question, Mr. Kapili, how is the PDRF coordinating with the national government, particularly the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, as well as the local government units to ensure the efficient delivery of aid that will be coming from the private sector?
As I mentioned, Jerome, we work very closely with the NDRRMC, the Office of Civil Defense, the DSWD, as well as the provincial government. In fact, PDRF is a member of the Task Force for Recovery Kumbati in Cebu. What we want to highlight here is that we want to establish close coordination so that we can maximize the resources, Jerome. We don't duplicate efforts. So if the NDRRMC has already provided hygiene kits for this particular evacuation center, then we can look at other evacuation centers. So we don't duplicate, and we make sure that the response of the private sector adds value to what the government, the national and the local, has already provided. Again, it's about complementarity. It's about working together hand in hand, because at the end of the day, we serve the same community. We serve the same affected communities of Cebu.
So, and it looks like, Mr. Kapili, that other communities are not being left behind, because you mentioned if a government already provided assistance to a community, then your group will help another community. So it's like it's a balance. So they all of the sectors are involved in helping our communities there in Visayas.
That is very accurate, Jerome. In fact, PDRF, we're very proud that we have developed our own dashboard where we track and monitor the response of the private sector. So we know which private sector, which company has provided what. And for instance, food packs, liters of water, transportation. So we have that. We are tracking that, and we put that on our dashboard here that we created. And what is more important, Jerome, is that this dashboard is shared with the NDRRMC, so they can also track what the private sector is doing. So again, as I mentioned, it's about complementarity, making sure, as you pointed out, that no one is left behind.
Right, that's right. Okay, so we know, Mr. Kapili, that back-to-back disasters can strain both local resources and also residents. So, do you see any challenges our responders are facing right now?
It's already um, it, we are already facing issues with funding. I'm sure government is already also facing that, as well as the private sector, because of the back-to-back disasters that we are experiencing. But we are still mobilizing from our partners and our members, as well as from the international community, Jerome. So we have tapped into the diaspora, Filipino diaspora in the U.S., and we're trying to get more support from them, and corporations outside the Philippines. So meaning to say that it's not just all the Filipinos that are working, but we're also tapping into the funding support so that we can continue and still serve our communities that have been affected by Tino and prepare for the impact of Super Typhoon Uwan, Jerome.
And it looks like you are mobilizing like a fundraiser for our Filipinos abroad, so that they can provide help and contribute to the community.
That is correct. We set up a platform for our where there's GCash, there's Paymaya, and we're partnering with several non-government organizations based abroad to mobilize more resources, Jerome. So we really want to scale up the response of the private sector and the PDRF, particularly because we have been responding to a lot of disasters over the last couple of months. So
Yeah.
we really need to mobilize more from outside of the Philippines now, so that can support our actions here.
So aside from having a platform to for the people to send their donations as well, so do you have initiatives for the people of Cebu, or sorry, how can individuals as well as private companies and organizations supports the foundation's initiative for the people of Cebu?
Not and thank you for this opportunity. If you can hear me right now, please get in touch with PDRF. We have a platform that you can donate to, and also we make sure that your donation goes to where the most affected areas are, those that are have not been served, and that's something that we want to highlight. For the other companies abroad, if you're listening, we already got support from Caterpillar, from Miss Universe in the US, and several other big companies outside of the Philippines. And we want to mobilize more. And please get in touch with us, the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. Go to our website, and please support the drive that we're doing, not just for Cebu, but all the other island provinces in Visayas, as well as in anticipation of in the northern Luzon provinces, after Typhoon Uwan makes landfall.
All right, and that's the same response that the PDRF will implement should provinces of Cagayan, Isabela, or Aurora will be inundated with massive floods.
That is true. In fact, we are now having discussions with member companies trying to understand how they will support just in case that it leaves a trail of devastation in northern Luzon. So this as this early, Jerome, we're now talking to our member companies, trying to understand what resources are available if we request support from them.
All right. Okay. And finally, Mr. Kapili, what message would you like to share with our kababayans who are still recovering from these recent disasters? What's your message of hope for them?
I think what we really want within PDRF is build resilient communities. We need to find long-term solutions. We cannot be responding every time that there is a disaster. We need to be able to build the capacity of not just the communities but of the local governments as well, so that they can resist, they can absorb the impact of disasters and can bounce back immediately after impact because they are more capacitated, they have better planning, and they have uh, established um, real and practical solutions like um, uh, like flood control projects, like mitigation structure. So that is something that we really need to put in place, long-term and durable solutions.
All right. Very well said. And with that, and we hope companies who are listening right now in this broadcast can contribute in the relief efforts that is underway there in Cebu. Thank you so much, Mr. Arnel Capili, the Center Director of the Emergency Operations Center at the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation.
Thank you very much, Jerome, and pleasant good morning to everyone.
And Front and Center will be right back after these short messages. You're listening to Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Magandang araw, si Ding Dong Dantes po ito. Narinig mo na ba ang yellow, orange at red warning system ng pag-asa para sa malakas na ulan at pagbaha? Madali lang yan tandaan. Yellow, kapag posibleng magkaroon ng baha sa mga mabababang lugar o sa mga malalapit sa ilog, dahil ito sa malakas na pag-ulan sa loob ng 1 oras o higit pa. Kapag naka-yellow warning, maging alerto at mag-monitor na ng panahon. Orange warning naman kung mas mataas na ang tsansa ng pagbaha at landslide dahil sa matinding pag-ulan sa loob ng 1 oras o higit pa. Kaya naman maghanda na sa posibleng paglikas. At kapag may red warning naman, nako, ito na. Panigurado ng babahain ang mga mapapapang lugar at magkakaroon ng landslide kaya pinapayuhan ng mag-evacuate ang mga tao. Sumunod sa payo ng LGU kung kinakailangan ng lumikas ng inyong pamilya papunta sa evacuation center. Sa susunod na marinig mo ang color-coded rainfall warning na ito, alam mo na, #panatag ang may alam.
Maging panatag Pilipinas.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo. And today we're now joined by Professor Guido David, a fellow from Octa Research, to discuss the latest findings from their Tugon ng Masa nationwide survey for the third quarter of 2025. So this was a discussion yesterday, but we did not have someone from Octa to discuss this. But right now we're now joined by fellow at the Octa Research, none other than Professor Guido David, to discuss this latest survey. So good morning, Professor Guido. Thank you so much for joining us here in the program Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Yes, good morning, Jerome, and good morning to our viewers and listeners of Radyo Pilipinas.
Okay, so this survey conducted by Octa Research, which is the Tugon ng Masa third quarter survey, it revealed that the trust and performance of our top government officials, particularly President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio, they receive less trust rating for this quarter. So what are the main factors that may have contributed to these changes, Professor Guido?
Yes, we did see a decline in the trust and satisfaction ratings of the president and the vice president. For the trust rating, the president's trust went down from 64 to 57. And for the vice president, it went down from 54 to 51. Although, of course, what we see is that majority still trust the president and even the vice president. Well, I mean, for the vice president, it's 51%. That's just almost a little more than half, but for the president, still more than 50% trust the president, and the distrust is um, not as high, of course. For the president, the distrust is 25 percent. So we did not ask the reasons. By the way, the survey was conducted September 30 to October 4 with 1,200 respondents nationwide face to face. We did not ask specifically the reasons, but I think uh, we can attribute this partly to the um, ongoing, you know,
Flood
situation that we find ourselves in, wherein there's issues of corruption in
Yes.
flood control projects, and I think this affects everyone, unfortunately. But if you're to ask me, I mean, the trust and performance ratings are always elastic, naman, Jerome, so they can always bounce back. And I think maybe the public is just a little on the edge right now. But if we get results from the ongoing investigations of the I think I would expect that the president will bounce back and get a higher trust rating.
Okay. Well, you mentioned about the rating of President Marcos Jr. So despite the decline, he still got the majority trust and approval from the Filipino people. So what does this tell us about his overall standing with the Filipino public? And also, can he sustain this trust and performance rating? So that's 57% for the trust rating of the president.
Yes, and I think if you think about it, the president's the first one to actually expose corruption within the government. And even though we know that it's probably been going on since, the previous administrations with an S. So, but the president was bold enough to make that decision, even though he knew that he would still take a hit in his trust and satisfaction rating. So my read of the situation is the president is more concerned about the public, the Filipinos, than about his own personal rating. So he cares more about the country. And that's why he did what he did, even though he knew, or he may have anticipated, that it will have some impact on his own trust rate. Kumbaga, if his only concern is magpapogi, he would not have done what he did. So that's why ako, personally, I would give him more slack. But yun nga, I think the bottom line of this is the president's more concerned about how to make the country a better place, and exposing corruption charges, even if it affects him in terms of numbers. I think he took that risk, and that decision he made with conviction for the public.
And also, Professor Guido, what can the president do is to consistently do these actions by holding these public officials accountable.
Right, right. And when the public sees some results, yun nga, the public's getting a little bit, medyo, I won't say excited, but they're getting a bit agitated about all the corruption. So I think if we start to see some results, some convictions, some people, some trials, not that that's our focus. Of course, our focus is to make the Philippines a better place.
Yeah.
Pero
That's right.
but if we have corruption in some parts of the government, this is not going to help us make the country better, right? So I think if we see these results, the president will have an increase in his trust rating. And I think history, I mean, even though right now, some people might say, well, 57 is not that high. I think history will look more fondly at the president for what he did, for the courage he had to do, for the courage that he did what he had to do, compared to right now. Kumbaga, mas ma-appreciate siya by future generations compared to some other Past presidents na ang focus lang nila is, magpapogi how to look good
Okay.
at the present time. But after some time, pag nakalipas na yung term nila, sometimes history doesn't look as fondly to them. So parang lumalabas na, okay, they were involved in corruption or something like that. So
Correct.
I think that the president is doing this more for long term talaga, for the good of the Philippines.
I see. And that's
I think
and that's for his legacy as a
legacy, right? As
yeah.
a leader,
As a leader, yeah.
right? Who made this change? Kasi if the corruption has been ongoing for for many years now, maybe this is the time that things will really change, and we'll be more cognizant and more aware of these things na hindi na natin papalagpasin, and we'll choose our future leaders accordingly, those who are not just concerned about their own image but concerned about the Filipinos, yung meron talaga malasakit.
That's right. Okay, so we'll take a look at the right now at the Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio's support, which she gained because as I see here, the trust rating is at 51%, although it went down by 3 points from second quarter, and also the performance rating is at 49%. So please help us understand better. Prof. Guido, what could be the factor of this of these numbers that she receiving?
Yes, Jerome. Well, to be fair, the 51% is lower slightly compared to 54, but it's still within the margin of error. And we see that for the vice president, she still gets most of her support from Mindanao and part of it from Visayas. So she got 63 in Visayas, 84 in Mindanao. But in Metro Manila, she only got 30% support or trust, and 35% in Luzon. Majority of voters are in the Luzon and Metro Manila areas. So, but she's still getting overwhelming, support in Mindanao. Whereas for the president, he got a good support in Balas, Luzon, and Metro Manila, where he got 55 and 53 in Visayas. So I think even though their numbers look very close, it's very demographic oriented, meaning that the vice president, she still gets a lot of support from Central Visayas and Mindanao, and this is trust rating. So the vice president hasn't been on active duty for some time. I think she's been visiting her father and looking after their own personal situations. So she hasn't been actively involved in public service, and that's why maybe the numbers have not been changing that much. But the slight decrease is probably because she's been doing less public service compared to
to
before.
the President Marcos.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The president has been very busy. When I look at the president, sometimes he looks stressed, and being a president of a country is a stressful job. So
Yeah, that's right.
So that's to be expected, and that shows that he is doing his work for the Filipinos. I mean, and so are other, some of our other government officials. They're doing a lot of work, and it is stressful, so it's not
All right.
easy.
Okay, Professor Guido, we don't have much time left in the program, but what trends should we watch out for in the coming months as we move toward the next quarter, especially in terms of how public trust might shift with current national issues? Right now, we are dealing with corruption scandal, and as well as these flood control project mess and some other issues that surrounds the presidency.
Well, right now the economy is doing okay, but we are seeing some slight,
That's one
for
point.
example, the economy is okay. And inflation is down, I think 1.7%, so it's very healthy inflation rate. But we still have to look after the economy because that's still the number one concern. Unemployment is also down; it's going down, and that's a good those are actually achievements for the Marcos administration. When we think about it, unemployment is down, inflation is down. So and so the corruption issue is now at the forefront. But there will be other things. I mean, because we're seeing more natural disasters right now, typhoons. So we pray for our kababayans in Central Visayas and Cebu, and then we also have been seeing a frequency of earthquakes.
Right.
So I think the Marcos administration, how it handles these issues, support for our kababayans in different parts of the country.
Right.
This will also, be a factor on how the Marcos administration performs. So not just the corruption issue, but also, these ongoing calamities. Of course, probably by end of November, we won't be seeing typhoons anymore until next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, earthquakes will happen. I mean, because it's been going on. So we have to be very vigilant about how we handle those things. And there are other issues also. I mean, aside from corruption, I mean, some certain government officials, some. I mean, there's going to be protest marches.
Yeah, that's right.
That's going to happen, but they're for peace, and they're not about for. I mean, they're anti-corruption, but we understand them on our
all right.
bias. So
Well,
they're protesting the corruption, not the government.
All right. And those factors and events we should watch out for. We don't have much time, Professor Guido. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us in the program, the fellow of Octo Research, Professor Guido David.
Thank you, Jerome. Good morning.
And with that, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Together with our technical team headed by Mr. Milo Janela, and on our Warcast, Hiro Lucero, and our interns at Technological Institute of the Philippines, Will and Greg. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.